And by the way, this is the most people we've ever had on a stage, so if we start to go down, please help us. And what I'll do is I'm going to let the four panelists who did not give a presentation, I'm going to go one by one down the road, let them introduce themselves, and then I'm going to ask them what are some of the solutions that their company is offering to help their customers reduce unscheduled downtime. You can kind of sit wherever, just a little bit. So I'm going to start, let's see, I'll start at that end, and I'll start with John.
Well, I mean, as you may have heard, Stratus is really a vendor of fault-tolerant computers. It's what we've done for the 40 years or so of our existence, and applying that technology into the industrial space is really where we focused. Specifically in the last 5 or 6 years, now we're moving down to applying these technologies to the edge. Again, where you get these remote systems in the middle of nowhere. A mantra I think around that is to eliminate unplanned downtime is really to make things simple, protected, and autonomous. Simple to deploy, manage, deploy, protected, cybersecurity, physical security, and offering failover integrated into them, and autonomous. I think it sort of speaks for itself from that perspective.
Okay, Vikram.
Hey, good evening. Vikram from GE Digital. I think we do not need much of an introduction. We are in this space of automation all the way from your shop floor automation, HMI SCADA, to MES applications, to the predictive analytics on APM. We have both on-prem and cloud offerings, and we have been in the industrial space of predictive and prescriptive analytics using all the nice buzzwords you've heard today about ML, AI, and I'm sure there are a few more acronyms that people will come up in the next week or so. So we've been there, we've done that, we've worked with a whole slew of customers. Two of the presenters here are our customers actually. So Rohit is a customer. Saudi Aramco is a huge customer of GE across the world. And we have Intel. Rob is also a good customer. And I'm sure, so we will go across the globe and you will keep hearing about GE Digital launching new products. We just launched one and the press release was done yesterday. So thank you.
I'm Matthew Raybourn, a sales engineer for Inductive Automation. And we make the Ignition platform, which is a scalable SCADA solution that can allow you to efficiently connect your devices to the higher level systems like ERP and machine learning. And we can also utilize open standards like MQTT and the Sparkplug-B specification.
My name is Kelvin Hurdle. I'm with Rockwell Automation. We build automation and control equipment. We work with a number of partners, Stratus and others, to develop solutions for edge computing. And we build SCADA systems for allowing data to be not only gathered but processed, and we also have some AI solutions as well.
Okay. One question I have, and I'll start with all the users. We'll go down the row, and then I'll let the suppliers interject some opinions as well. Is with cybersecurity being such a major issue, with any of your implementation of solutions to reduce unscheduled downtime, how did you deal with the cybersecurity aspect of now having more systems connected, therefore more systems vulnerable? So I'll start with Rohit.
Yeah, I think some of the more traditional approaches which involve deployment on the corporate networks was not an issue. When you get into the plant, again, challenge was when we started deploying the new types of hardware, edge gateways and operating systems which the plants are not used to, and trying to apply the normal standards, ISA 99 and so on. So we definitely see a need for those standards to evolve. As they apply to more conventional systems, and then for now, if it's a POC, we can get away with it, but when it comes to actual production applications, we need to resolve this issue.
Okay, so Craig?
Yeah, I don't even know how to answer that question,
Okay,
Craig.
that's fine. No problem.
Because as I said in the presentation, I am the end user.
Okay.
I
No
wait until the
problem.
last day to change my password and usually
You
get.
can pass the baton if you want.
We have two certified engineers in cybersecurity. They require us to have those two engineers in one of the project or on tunnel in particular. We never use it because at the end of the story, they decided that they didn't want to open anything outside. So we're still waiting for their decision after, and we keep having those engineers trained every year for updates. So that's our situation currently.
Okay.
We took the approach from the IT side first, and then we used the normal standard like VLANing, and then with the Rockwell administration console, we were able to lock down the OT side more with adding users and making sure only approved computers were allowed to access our control network. So we were able to tighten it up a lot more on the OT side.
Okay. And Rob?
So we have, that's actually what my, key job is, making sure that the infrastructure we're landing is landing in a standard and secure way. Security is one of our biggest principles, and vendors are not able to land without making sure that they meet very rigorous guidelines for us on security. And so that is the principle that I was talking about when I was up there about enforcing those standards.
Okay.
One of the reasons is for security, so.
Okay, now what I'll do is now I'll ask the vendors to also ask, how are you helping your customers regarding addressing their cybersecurity needs? So
I'll just latch on to what Rob said.
Okay.
So there's a very stringent process that every customer that we've worked with globally has their own sets of evaluation criteria. But on our side, we've got teams that we call as red teams and black teams that work on hacking or attempting to hack our own software and get to the vulnerability pieces. So all the threat vectors are analyzed globally, and we have a well-distributed team that goes in and looks at what can be there in the market. So that's one part. And the second part is what we've seen with customers is if there's somebody that's going brand new into this space, the possibility of getting into a security issue is lower because this is now more hardened software. But what we found on the manufacturing side are customers who've got systems that have been 20 years old, not touched, and working on unsupported OS. And this is a huge problem. Industrial PCs are coming to that refresh stage, and nobody wants to touch it because it works. But that's the biggest threat we see in the market right now from the manufacturing perspective.
okay.
So we do a similar approach as well. We have a cybersecurity team that can analyze that and follow up with any potential vulnerabilities, and we get those fixed. So we also take part in the initial architecture discussion. So with the customers and their IT team, they can apply standard IT practices like VLAN, TLS, anything they can do to secure everything, use firewalls appropriately and all that. So, yeah.
Okay. Kelvin?
Yes, well, we work closely with companies like Microsoft to make sure every PLC, every software design that we do is up to date on any patches like they may require or request. We push that information out to all of our customers on a regular basis. They have access online to see what updates are available, and we sometimes ping them ourselves to make sure that they're updating with those patches on a regular basis. We also have a network services group that goes out and does assessments for assessing what stage you are with your current cybersecurity capabilities. And with the America Infrastructure Act that just came out, is starting now to be implemented with a lot of different sized municipalities. We're working with a lot of those municipalities ourselves directly.
Okay, John?
So from a Stratus perspective, it's kind of a two-dimensional sort of problem. For the systems we deploy, the larger 19-inch rack mount systems, they're really IT-light systems. So, we rely on traditional IT processes, capabilities to provide cybersecurity capabilities there. Edge systems, it's a little bit different. They're outside that IT realm. So we worked hard to build in basic cybersecurity capabilities. Nothing fancy. We're not trying to solve a whole enterprise's cybersecurity problem. It's a defense in depth kind of strategy. But to the extent that our edge platforms will include basic whitelisting, blacklisting for IP addresses, basic firewall capability. When you log into the machine for the first time, we force you to change the password, so you can't get hacked that way. So there's that whole side to it. The other side to it, of course, is running scans constantly on the software that we use and deploy in our machines that goes out to our end users. We use a lot of open source. Most companies do these days, one way or another. So if you heard Angel from Buckeye speak earlier today, it's all about scanning for those vulnerabilities, showing our customers that those vulnerabilities have been addressed in the software that we are giving them as an integral part of our solution. So it's a kind of a two-dimensional thing.
Okay. And the last question that I'll have for all the users, and then I'll have a follow-up with the suppliers as well. I'll start with Rohit. Is in regards to the issue of culture and the ability for the people within your facility to accept these new solutions and be able to kind of, get concurrence and get agreement as to why these things are important, rather than trying to be more comfortable in doing things the way they've done things in the past.
Yeah, I think it all starts with value. I think the way we approached it is we engaged the end users or the site users in developing the use cases themselves, and then match them to the underlying digital technologies. So we had their buy-in from the start. So the acceptance was easier at the end. And secondly, I think there is a strong kind of push from top down for increasing the level of digitalization. So digitalization initiatives have been created at individual site level. There are leads. So there's uptake from that side as well.
Okay.
For us, it was first getting the buy-in of executive committee and the owner. Once we had buy-in from the ownership, and then we started showing him the results. The second layer of that is now delivering that to the employees in the plants and getting them to accept. But with the ownership of with the buy-in of the owner, it's kind of a done deal.
Yeah, it's usually that way.
Well, dealing with people is not really a very good experience. Unfortunately, our customers, they don't respond very well to our proposal in terms of many, including cybersecurity. The constant answer is that they don't want to have any opening to outside. We try desperately to propose solution, even just simple maintenance with the Stratus server. They are not really acceptable. We use software with a higher level standard, like Siemens, with all the possible security, SIL 3 certification. But it's still, we can't convince them to adopt some of the solution that are basically mediatic in the industry are using already.
Okay.
Yeah, we ended up getting pushback as well when we started implementing the security when they were used to just single user login. But we kind of explained to them the changes that were coming, and we worked them in slowly. And as they got more accustomed to it, they started getting more used to it, and then they finally accepted it. So.
Okay, good.
Within Intel, it's we have a general principle within our group that we don't disrupt the manufacturing process. So for us, it's user adoption culture. We go extremely out of our way to not impact them. So once again, it gets back to what Rohit had said about value. If we have a clear value and we do not impact how the users are working, then really there is no culture challenge that we have there.
Okay. And now, from the supplier's perspective, as far as you're selling these solutions, what kind of resistance or acceptance are you having from your customers? So we can start with, You can start, John, if you want. Oh, okay.
So for Stratus, it's pretty easy. Our best customers are the people who've experienced significant unplanned downtime, and it's cost them a lot of money because their control system's gone down. They come to us, and they're almost willing to pay anything in order to get that. It's a little bit different these days. You know, a lot of customers now understand the concept of virtualization. I think it's an underpinning technology, particularly around the edge, consolidating old systems, as we talked about earlier, and even enabling some of those old systems to run on modern computers. The cybersecurity issues, you know, notwithstanding in that area. But increasingly, you know, it's getting the buy-in also from the IT side. It's not just the OT people who have the decision-making here, particularly as you go into digital transformation. It's this whole IT-OT convergence side. And it's getting IT to buy into, yes, this is a system that the OT people need to deploy, particularly when it's kind of out at the edge.
Okay. Go ahead.
Right. I'll just share a few things that we learned from our customers. So the first thing we learned was culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so that was one point. Now you correlate this to the second one that I learned from one of my customers is human beings do not follow Six Sigma. So that's another interesting point that we need to consider. But the third one was there's always a reason why not to do something. You as leaders and change agents have to figure out what's that one reason that trumps everything all. I mean, and no pun intended here. So as people of technology, innovation, or whatever you call it in the ERP phase or this phase, it doesn't matter. We just have to get that value thing. We got to get it right. And when we get everyone from the top floor to the bottom floor aligned to just that one objective, that's the only way to get success.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, for our customers, generally when they approach us, they have some sort of challenge or problem that they're trying to solve. And in that sense, it's fairly simple. It's not really any resistance there. There might be a little, but once we show them the whole solution, then and they see that value added, then it all works out. As far as what kind of resistance we might see, it usually might revolve around the old tried and true approach. Why change what isn't broken? And in that case, we take a similar approach in demonstration where we show that given the opportunity, you could have that value added to your solution. And so you can solve those problems that you might not even see because you might be currently ignoring them.
Okay.
Yeah, and we see, depending upon the industry, the willingness, right, to consider cybersecurity as an issue varies. In the oil and gas industry, a lot of acceptability to come on in and assist them with their challenges as applies to cybersecurity. On the water wastewater side, that industry tends to take a long time to update itself to new technology, so we find that there's quite a bit more pushback there. So we're working with some of our partners on the IT side to kind of get that messaging to where they're comfortable with that message and drive it from both the OT, IT side at the same time.
Okay. Well, please thank the speakers for, first of all, it's a lot harder to do a 12-minute presentation than a 20-minute presentation and try to get the message across. So let's applaud the speakers for doing such a nice job. And the panelists for joining them. I think the buses start to leave from the glass doors in the lobby here about 6:20 for Universal Studios. So look forward to seeing you there tonight. And thank you very much for attending. Thank you.